Thank you, Commissioner. We will determine the quorum. We need 4 members present in order to vote on issues, and we have several issues to vote on this evening. So I'll begin. Commissioner Eric Linjo, 4D01. I believe.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner 4D02, Renee Bowser, I'm here. Commissioner R.A.N. Rodriguez Bouquet, 4D03.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Zachary Israel, 4D04.
Present.
Okay, Commissioner Eric Smith will be joining us later. And Commissioner Jonathan Noble, 4D06.
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum because we have 5 of the 6 commissioners, and as I say, we expect Commissioner Smith shortly. We will move to the agenda. I just have it in front of me. Oh, yes, okay. Are there any changes or modifications to the agenda? All right. Hearing none. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as is?
I move to accept the agenda as is.
Okay, do we have a second for that? Oh, yes, thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we accept the agenda as written. Are there any comments from anyone before we vote? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approval of the agenda for tonight's September 21st, 2022 virtual public meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay, we will move to the approval of the July 2022 minutes for our meeting. We did not meet in August, so our meeting, we have the July minutes to approve.
Yes, so I just added a link in the chat for those of the all of you joining us that were not present at the July meeting. Briefly, business as usual. The major actions in which we voted on were the first round of grant applicants. We approved, let's see, 5 grantees in July. Those were Petworth Peanuts, United to Rise, Life Success Center, Petworth Blooms, and Truesdale Family Teacher Organization. And the amounts are included in the draft meeting minutes for a total of $13,450. And we also passed a resolution for Uptown Main Street for the upcoming Art All Night event on September 23rd. Those were the big items that were discussed and voted on in July. I move to approve the meeting minutes as is.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded, the approval of the meeting minutes for the July public meeting. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of approval of the July 20th, 22 meeting minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay, we're going to move on to the treasurer's report with Commissioner Israel, our treasurer.
Thank you, Chair Bowser. So I don't know if Commissioner Noble can screen share the treasurer's report. If it's not easy to do so right now, not a problem. But the last meeting we had, public meeting we had, was in late July. So this monthly report covers the month of July and the month of August. And in the month of July, we spent about over $13,000 in grants funding being awarded to the 5 grantees that Commissioner Bouquet just mentioned earlier. And then in the month of August, our only expense was to Chair Bowser as a reimbursement for flyering in her single member district. So we are ending the month of August with a balance of $4,312.26. Although I just want to note, though, for my fellow commissioners and the public, that the actual closing balance is a little bit higher than that. It's just sort of the software we use sort of undercounts it a bit. So it's actually a conservative number. But officially it's just over $4,300. But it's actually closer to about 5,000 or so that we actually have cash on hand after taking into account all of that. I can answer any questions if anyone has them regarding the treasurer's report. Okay. Well, seeing none, Commissioner Noble, if we can move on to the next one here, the FY23 draft budget. So under the DC code, advisory neighborhood commissions have to present sort of the draft version of our annual budget before we take a final vote on it, which we'll do at our October 19th public meeting. So this is a chance for the public to look at what ANC 4D is proposing for our budget, as well as fellow commissioners who can offer comments and suggestions. And we'll post this on our ANC 4D website. So if anyone in the public has comments on this, you can email me as the treasurer. My email address is 4d04@anc.dc.gov. So at the top, you can see we're going to approximately roll over just over $10,000 from FY22, which ends September 30th of this year, so 9 days, into the new fiscal year. That number may change depending on how much in grants we approve of tonight. So it might be a little bit less than that number, but it'll be somewhere between 8,000 and 10,409 that we would actually roll over into FY23. And then you can see there the district allotment. That's also a conservative number because that number is based on what we've traditionally gotten, which is a share of the population versus the whole district. And because of redistricting, the new population of ANC 40 will actually increase starting in January. So if there's any likely incoming commissioners on the call tonight, your total allotment for FY23 will actually probably be closer to like 18,000 than 16,764. I just don't know the exact number. So there'll actually be a little bit more money to spend. And then going down to disbursements, sort of what we're proposing the allocation be from the total of 27,173. About 66%, $18,000 towards grants. That's just based on what we will likely have approved of in FY22 and what we did in FY21. And that's, almost 2/3 of the whole budget would be for grants. Just over 7,000 for communications. That's about 26% of the total budget. And then some other, extraneous things like bank charges and office supplies and things like that. So the two main items are grants and communications. We're certainly going to need money for another annual Zoom subscription, even if it goes to hybrid, we're going to need that. And then of course, individual commissioners, newsletters and things like that. So again, this is just the draft version of it. It may change depending on what other commissioners want and if we get comments from the public. So this is the official presentation, fairly brief. I'll be happy to answer any questions from commissioners or the public if anyone has them.
Yeah, I would just make the comment, and I know this will come up again this evening, but I have a finance background. I think this allocation of dollars towards grant funding is a really good use of the authority that we have as an advisory neighborhood commission, especially given sort of the ambiguity and vagueness of the great weight that's required of the district agencies to give towards our policy resolutions. I think getting out money into the community is a good, for the benefit of everyone is a good thing to do. And I think leaving the next commission to come in with a few $1,000s is probably appropriate. I think short of some very bizarre thing coming out of the woodwork, it's unlikely that they would need some significant reserves, and even if that event did occur, I don't know that a few extra $1,000 of reserves would sort of be something to fix that. That would probably be some extraneous unusual issue. So I'm supportive of this budget. Thank you, Commissioner Israel.
Thank you, Commissioner Noble. And one other note I just want to mention too, especially if there's any soon-to-be commissioners of 4D starting in January on the call tonight, is that the new ANC 4D will have the ability to like vote on amending this budget. So for instance, if you want to spend more or less on grants slightly or more or less on communications or anything else, collectively as a new commission, you could vote to amend this budget, right? So I just want to make that clear to everybody as well.
I'd like to say that I believe that we need to spend more on outreach. There's still so many people that don't even know who their ANC commissioner is. And when they're important issues, it might be good. I mean, we've been putting things on our website and we discuss things here, but it may be better to try to touch the people and the residents and the households in the commission so that they know that they're ANCs and what the ANCs are available to do. I know since when we move to hybrid or in person, we're going to have to change our signs, and that's going to cost about $2,000 to $3,000. So my view is that we need to make sure we hold enough for communications and outreach, because sometimes when you get, a lot of times it may not matter, but sometimes ANCs deal with big things like big development projects, and they miss, some ANCs miss the people that may be getting the back end of those projects because their concerns aren't addressed because they're really not here. And so I think we have to review that and make that the main focus, because the communication with the residents is the number one thing for ANCs. It's supposed to be the number one thing. Okay, we don't have to vote on this. Continue, Commissioner. Go.
All right, thank you, Chair Bowser. So yeah, assuming there's no other comments on this, we'll move on to the next agenda item. So we are going to hear from representatives from three organizations who applied for our second round of grants. And we opened up the grants, I want to say it was just under 2 weeks ago. I believe it was like September, 8th, I believe. And we opened it up for 10 days. The deadline was this past Sunday, the 18th. And in that intervening 10 days, we had 3 organizations apply on time. And so the first that we'll hear from, and if we could sort of keep it at, a maximum of like 3 to 5 minutes, that would be ideal. So we could sort of move things along. We'll hear from Petworth Arts Collaborative first, followed by the Home Rule Music and Film Foundation, and then Ward 4 Mutual Aid. So we'll hear the presentations 3 in a row. And then we will, as a commission, discuss the grant applications and then vote on whether to approve them or not. So if that works for everyone, the representatives from Petworth Arts Collaborative, if you could just unmute and briefly describe in a few minutes what you're applying for.
Hi, I'm Maria Mandel, and I'm here with Lori Baylor, my arts partner in the Petworth Arts Collaborative. As you mentioned, we are applying for the ANC 4D grant application for a spring arts festival. We are an organization that started back in 2016. We're a volunteer-run community group. We're committed to really engaging and activating our local community in Petworth through different art experiences. And some of our main goals include engaging the community to spark creativity from young to old, to educate, to inspire. And this is all through arts programs that we've done, from events like Dia de los Muertos, street processions and ultra making workshops to First Fridays, and many more. I will hand it over to Lori Baylor now, who will speak a little bit more about the specific events that we have in mind, which this grant would be helping us to achieve.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so as Maria said, we're planning the Petworth Arts Festival and Picnic for May 2023 in Sherman Circle. And our vision at a high level is in line with everything that Maria just said. It's to bring people together to get outside and engage with art in the community in a spring-inspired way. So we're planning to have different stations all over Sherman Circle where kids and really people of all ages can be hands-on creating and learning about art. So some of the example activities, which would all be aligned with springtime and being outside, would be creating a community art board where participants can create a communal painting, rock painting, spring themed t-shirt painting and stenciling, picnic bag decorating. We'll invite everyone to bring picnic snacks. And for young kids, even take that one step further to have an area where they can have a teddy bear picnic. So they can bring a teddy bear and a picnic blanket and a snack to all enjoy springtime outside together. And the other part that we're really excited about is hosting professional artists to demonstrate their crafts to educate and inspire people about the arts. So again, this would be a springtime theme. And some of our artist contacts that we think would be a really great fit for this are a lino cut printmaker who could show the process behind lino cut prints, a professional chalk artist who could do an original piece or replicate a famous painting, an artist who creates mandalas made out of flowers and plants. You get the idea. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what we're planning for the event. And we're anticipating about 100 people based on the turnouts from some of our previous similar events in the past. And just from a financial and budget perspective, as Maria mentioned, Petworth Arts Collaborative is an all volunteer group and we're really cognizant about spending. So we'll be asking people to bring their own items where it makes sense. And we also want to have some of those same items as backup to make sure the event is accessible to everyone. And so we're really thinking about the budget kind of in three main buckets. The first is what participants can bring on their own to help keep the costs down. So this would be things like a white t-shirt for decorating. And if they want to participate in the teddy bear picnic, they could bring a blanket, snacks, a teddy bear, and maybe even a small white t-shirt they can decorate for their teddy bear. The other bucket from a financial standpoint is what other sponsors are able to cover. So we as Petworth Arts Collaborative will provide our time as volunteers to plan and execute the event, of course. And we'll be doing things ahead of time to make everything smooth, like making stencils for the t-shirt decorating, priming the board for the communal painting. And then we'll also be providing materials that we already have and tables and tents, things like that. Petworth Peanuts is a group in the area that does a lot of great activities with really young kids. So we started talking to them about ways we could potentially collaborate. And they actually also agreed to help co-sponsor the event. And they said they can provide things like printing costs to help publicize, tables and chairs, a speaker for some music, hand sanitizer, things like that, maybe even some live music. And then the third bucket is the piece that, what we're asking and hoping that ANC 4D might be able to help sponsor. That would include a permit so that we could be in Sherman Circle, art supplies for the art activations that people will participate in. And that would include things like acrylic paints and t-shirt paints, markers, paintbrushes, extra white t-shirts for painting for anyone, who doesn't have that when they come, picnic bags for painting, things like that. Also some extra supplies for the teddy bear picnic. So again, just to make sure that this is accessible to everyone. So we would like to have some extra teddy bears and picnic blankets, and even maybe some small giveaways like stickers or something like that that would appeal to the really young kids, because it is intended to be an all age event. And then the final piece, again, being a really important one, for us, it's important to compensate the artists that we collaborate with. So be compensation for the professional artists who are participating for their time and materials. So I know we're short on time, so I'm gonna stop there. But yeah, thank you all so much for considering our application. We are really excited about this and think it would be a wonderful, engaging and educational addition to the community this spring. And we would love your support in helping to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you both. And while you're still here, just in case you have to leave soon, if any other commissioners have any questions for them, now would be the time to ask them.
My question would be, who do you reach out to advertise the event, and how do you do it? What individuals and groups do you reach out to?
Great question. And Maria, feel free to jump in too. So I think the really low hanging fruit for us that is really easy. We're really lucky that we've already built up a really strong social media presence. So I think we approach it as, in person, kind of flyering the neighborhoods, and also online. So we have, I'm forgetting exactly the number, Maria, how many followers the Petworth Arts Collaborative has. So we would post there, and then.
I mean, I can speak to that real quickly if you want. We have like close to 4,000 followers, just a little under, I think it is. But again, to Lori's point, it is also really important to us, given the neighborhood and diversity that we have in our beautiful Petworth, to really do like a lot of door-to-door flyering and things of that nature, not just rely on social media.
Yeah, and what we've done in the past is put, we'll print out posters or flyers or things like that and go to the businesses like along Upshur in Georgia and Kennedy Street, to make sure that those main areas where there's so much foot traffic has the opportunity to, put something up in their window if they want to support the event in that way. And even just like, putting things on telephone poles or something like that. So yeah, I would say it's kind of those two parts hand in hand.
Do you have any contacts with Barnard and Truesdale School that you reach out to?
I don't that I know of. That's a fantastic idea. Maria, do you have those contacts? I know I have friends who have kids who go there, but I don't know that I have contacts there. Maria, do you?
I don't as of now. No, but I would love to be connected with or be put in touch with anyone.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. Thank you so much.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me regarding Truesdale. I know the principal and the family teacher organization leadership pretty well, so I'd be happy to help you advertise it to them.
Thank you so much, Zach.
And I don't really know the people at Barnard. I've been there several times when we would do the coat drives, but they're reachable through they're reachable through the contact information from the school, and they were very open to having, the opportunity to have their children to be recipient of the coat drive. So I'm sure they welcome this opportunity as well.
Wonderful.
Yes, and I see in the chat, Dylan Butler says that he's the parent of a Barnard student and his wife's on the board of Petworth Peanuts. So if one of you could, link up with Dylan, that would be great. He has a Barnard connection. So
wonderful.
Well, thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
The only other piece of outreach I would add is with the Kennedy, which is on 5th and Kennedy. And Brian Hamer is the property manager or the building manager for that unit. And I will put his information in the chat because I believe that there are at least between 7 to 10 families that are currently living there.
I would also probably add Emory Rec Center, since this is going to take a part in the spring when that's going to be part of ANC 4D. So really think about the northern part of the area, since it's going to take part in the very southern border of 4D, since it's a 4D grant, not a 4C grant as well. Please, Lori.
So that would help. All those things would help to get a real cross section of the children in the area.
Wonderful. Yeah, these are fantastic ideas. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. We really appreciate it. And so just moving on, we will now hear from, I think Charvis should be here from Home Rule Music and Film Foundation to hear about his grant application. Or if not Charvis, somebody else from Home Rule. Okay, well, let's see. Commissioner Linshow, I know if you
Yeah,
had his
let
information.
me give him a call here on this side to see what's going on.
Okay, I did, for full disclosure, I did inform him that he would need to present and the date and the Zoom registration info, and he said he would be able to attend, but perhaps something came up. And unfortunately, it's a legal requirement, just for everyone's awareness, for us to hear a presentation before we vote on approving it. And I know it was for an event in early October, so this is the last public meeting before the event. So hopefully he can join us. So in the interim, we will hear from Ward 4 Mutual Aid. I think I saw Sarah on, but if there's anyone else, I see Allison as well. Great. So if you want to start, thank you.
Hi, folks. I'm Sarah Badger. Good evening, commissioners. I'm with Ward 4 Mutual Aid, and Vanessa Robertson, who's with Brightwood Park UMC, who are our partners on this grant application, is also on. So I'll speak a little bit to our grant application and then give Vanessa an opportunity to add anything she wants to add. So Ward 4 Mutual Aid was formed at the beginning of the pandemic as a group of neighbors seeking to meet the needs in our community. We currently do that in 3 ways. The first is through grocery distribution, which we currently do on Wednesdays and Saturdays out of the Brightwood Park UMC Church, which is in 4D at the corner of 8th and Jefferson. So we distribute food, diapers, small gift cards, and are usually serving between 75 and 100 families each time we do grocery distribution. We also do distribution and advocacy with our unhoused neighbors, and also are able to do a little bit of direct assistance, so providing monetary resources directly to neighbors who need them. One of our guiding principles is no questions asked and no strings attached. So we know anecdotally that we're able to reach some folks in our community who aren't able to access some of the other services that others in the district might have access to. So our grant application is to support, is for food, to be a part of the food distribution. And we are super grateful for the work this commission has done to clarify that food as an allowable sort of expense for this kind of ANC grant. This grant would come at a really, really critical time for us. So we have been, one of the groups that we've partnered with in terms of providing food is Bread for the City, who's been for the last several years providing us with 260 bags of pre-packed food, which are we've supplemented with diapers and additional food items and other things that we purchase. Because of their sort of funding obligations at the end of September, they will no longer be able to provide those food bags to us. So there are opportunities for our neighbors to request those on a weekly basis, but it's an online process, and we know it's something that not everybody's going to be able to navigate. So we are sort of in the process of figuring out, like, without that really critical resource, what does our operation look like? So we'd really appreciate having some of the grant funds to use for food as we sort of figure out how to shift our operations and what other possible food resources we might have. So yep, the grant funding would go towards supporting that ongoing food distribution. And I will pass it over to Vanessa to see if she's got anything to add.
Hello. We're good? Okay, so I'm a member of Brightwood Park United Methodist Church, and I've been a Ward 4 Mutual Aid volunteer ever since we started. I mean, our church did some our own food distribution, and it just made sense for us to throw all of our resources over to Ward 4, and we have also turned our fellowship hall into a distribution center. There's food, there's clothes. One of the things I try to do is, because we are taking in clothes, which is not really a good thing because they take up so much space, I try to, on Wednesdays and Saturdays, just put them out and let people go through them, because you can't really, know what people need. We also have children's clothing set up. So, we try to help with lots of the things that the community needs. And food is definitely one of the main things. As a matter of fact, I was a little bit late for the meeting because it's Wednesday and we start at 5 and go till about 7. So I kept saying, I have to leave at 6. I have to leave at 6. Well, I left at 6:20, but anyway, I got here. So we're grateful for the opportunity to put in for this grant. And we hope that, we're able to get it. And like I said, it's a crucial time, like Sarah said, and at least, we'll be able to do something for next month and we'll just keep figuring it out. I mean, there's always got to be a plan B. I mean, we might have to go C and D, but see, ANC D, 4D. So we're going to get down to that letter, but right now we're at plan B and we just want us to be able to continue to support our community. I'm out.
Well, thank you so much, Vanessa and Sarah. Really appreciate it. You all have done just such phenomenal work over this entire pandemic, and we're very grateful that you're in our community. And I live right down the street from you all, and I every Wednesday that I'm here, and the other day of the week on Saturday, I see how crowded it can get, and so there's obviously a significant need for this in our community. So, with that, any other questions from any other commissioners or statements?
Not a question, just a huge thank you for the continued work that you're doing for the community. So thank you. We really appreciate you.
And I'm really glad that you're continuing to work because, as you noted, donations are falling off because people are declaring the pandemic over, but the people that you serve were in not the best shape before the pandemic, and that really worsened their situation. So it's really great that you're continuing in your efforts. Okay.
All right. Well, with that, anything else from anyone else? All right. Well, thank you again, Vanessa and Sarah. And if you want to stick around, we will be voting on this pretty shortly. So, and with that, is there anyone from Homeworld Music and Film Foundation that has joined in the last couple of minutes? Hopefully someone has.
I couldn't get a hold of Jarvis. I think Gabriella joined from Uptown Main Street. I'm not sure how well she can speak about it. I think they're sponsoring the event as well, but I did not get a hold of Jarvis on his number. I think Gabriella is on. I'm not sure, again, how well she can speak on it. And I think they're close. I mean, I think they're trying to sponsor the event as well, if I understand correctly.
Commissioner Lynn, did you say that there was someone on, or you mentioned another person?
Yeah, Gabriella from Uptown Main Street, I think, is signed on. I called her and she said she was signing on. I think they've already committed money to the event, but I don't know how well she can speak on it. I don't think she prepared the grant letter or anything like that.
Okay, well, can we come back to, we can vote, we can consider and vote on the first two proposed grants and come back to the third proposal later in the meeting. I don't want to hold up. I mean, let's decide.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That'll hopefully, by the time they realize they should be here, they will have joined and we can hear from them at that point. So I kind of agree with that. I prefer to hear directly from the direct organizer. Although, I mean, I do see Gabriella's here. So, I mean, if other commissioners are comfortable with just hearing the presentation from her in Uptown Main Street, we could do that instead.
I think we should wait it.
Okay, either way.
I think we can, we're going to be here for another hour and a half. Hopefully Jarvis hears my message that I left on his phone by then.
Okay, so Gabrielle, hold off on presenting because we'll wait for, see if Jarvis can join us later. So we won't hear that presentation now. Just going back to the first two grantees that we heard from, Kentworth Arts Collaborative and Ward 4 Mutual Aid. I guess, Chair Bowser, do I first have to move for consideration of approving? Okay,
Yeah,
so I
need to make a motion, have it seconded, then we open it up for discussion with the public.
Yes. So I make a motion for ANC 4D to approve of the fully requested amounts of $2,000 for Petworth Arts Collaborative and Ward 4 Mutual.
Do we have a second? I'll second it.
Okay.
And now it's been moved and seconded, so we'll have a few minutes of discussion with the commissioners and the public. Any comments from commissioners?
Sure, I'll just briefly just start. So I think these are both, worthy causes and projects that are in our community that serve the residents of ANC 4D, that have a proven track record. And so I feel comfortable funding it at the full amounts for both. One important detail though, financially, that I want, the grantees to be aware of and the public as well, is that right now, cash on hand, as I mentioned in the treasurer's report, ANC 4D only has just over $5,000 like in the bank today, like right now. So if we were to approve of all three $2,000 grant applications, including home rule, assuming they present later, we literally don't have enough money right now at this exact day to write all the checks for that right now. But one thing that we could do is the Office of ANC still owes ANC 4D over $9,000 from FY22, which is ending in 9 days, which we will receive within the next 2 to 3 months, very likely. And so that will replenish our bank accounts. And so what we were considering is if we were hypothetically to approve all three $2,000 grants for the Petworth Arts Collaborative grant, since that event is in May of next year, we wouldn't actually send the check over to you until later this calendar year, which that doesn't seem like a problem because you'd still have at least 4 or 5 months after to use it. And that way we can authorize the approval today, but not actually send you the money until we get the extra funds from the DC government, which is often very slow in sending us the money, but they will. They owe it to us. We submit all the paperwork on time and all of that. So that's sort of the one caveat I just want to be really clear on. And so with that, I'll end my comments. So open up to anyone else.
Are there any other comments from commissioners before I turn it over to the residents?
Just 2 quick comments. One, the grant for the Arts Festival, which is scheduled to take place in May, just general awareness that we would be approving something that would be taking place in another commission's term. So just a note. And then the other piece is that with that particular grant, and again, we're here to support you, Maria and Lori. So just let us know how we can connect you to the northern part of Brightwood Park. We just want to make sure that as much outreach goes out to this side of 4D as possible to engage as many families as we can for that event. And not everyone's on social.
Yes, I second what Commissioner Bouquet said, and I because we don't have the money now, I would prefer we cut this grant application to 1,000, and the new commission can have a grant application opening in the spring that could fund the rest of the activities for this ongoing event. And secondly, it's so important because the diversity is so important, and this is an example that I was talking about communication. You get a closed circle if you're getting people that are on social media. You're really not getting the community that is here and the people that may need the benefit from a project like this. So mainly because of the money, I would say that we should only do a 1,000 and let the new commissioners, because they're going to be all new commissioners, open up the application period in the spring, March, and they could well have more money when they actually have the funds for the rest of the project. Are there any comments from the public?
Yeah,
If you're attending by phone, you can unmute yourself, *6. Yes, Commissioner Noble?
Yeah, I would just jump in and to the question here of the amounts and timing of funding, I'm comfortable with the receivable that we would have from the district government or office of ANCs. And so I'm supportive of funding the grants at the requested amounts based on the timing constraints and limitations that Commissioner Israel outlined.
Yeah,
also
thank you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Arian.
I was just going to say I'm also in support of funding it for the full amount.
Yeah, and the reason I am as well is just as a reminder too, with the new commission, they're all going to be brand new. It's going to take a while, I think, for them to get acclimated. And also there's just the practical aspects of the ANC Security Fund. We know how long it takes for that process to work its way. And until that's approved, they can't spend any money. So if this event is in May, I'd just be concerned that they just wouldn't be able to reopen a grants process, do all the timing for that before May. It would be very difficult, I think. And so if this is just a way for us to help them get this done now, I think it's the way to go, in my opinion.
Okay, any discussion from the public before we close discussion out and move on to the next grant? Any attendee, any resident want to make a comment or ask a question with regard to this proposed grant? Okay, hearing none, I think we're ready to vote.
Okay, is there a preference if we vote individually on each grant or both of them together?
Well, I would say vote individually.
Okay, sure. So I move to approve of $2,000 grant to Petworth Arts Collaborative for their grant application.
Okay, and I seconded it, but even though I'm going to abstain to that. But yes, it's already been moved and seconded. And so are we ready to vote? All right.
Yes.
All in favor of the $2,000 grant for Petworth Spring Art and Teddy Bear Picnic event, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? I abstain. The ayes have it. The grant is approved. Okay.
Okay, and then I make a motion for ANC 4D to approve the $2,000 grant application submitted by Ward 4 Mutual.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded for a grant for Ward 4 Mutual Aid of $2,000. Now we can open it for discussion by commissioners and the public. Any comments from commissioners? None? Okay. Any comments from any attendees with respect to the grant application of Ward 4 Mutual Aid for $2,000? All right, hearing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, commissioners in favor of awarding $2,000 to Ward 4 Mutual Aid for the services they provide, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Commissioner, I don't see Commissioner Smith yet. Is he still not here? Okay, thank you. All right, now can we see if the presenter for Home Rule Music and Film Foundation? If not, we can wait, after other business. Well, hearing none. Commissioner Linjo, do you think we should just wait a little while and maybe
we can wait. I found another phone number for one of the board members. I'm going to call that as soon as we're done with the voting here when we get on the next. So maybe we can wait for that.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, we'll quickly move on to other, just a few announcements. The first one is that, as winter is coming and this is with respect to the Office of the People's Council. It's really important that people not wait because there are going to be a lot of utility disconnections, and when you get into the winter, it's really going to bite. The COVID restrictions and requirements that utilities could not disconnect people, that's gone. And the summer months where the utilities had to keep going because of the excessive heat, those requirements are at an end as well. So what the Office of the People's Counsel that regulates the utilities is the advocate for utility regulations, the advocate for the consumer. They're advising people to contact them if they cannot pay their bills, to try to get on a payment plan with the utility. If that does not work, there's several discount and programs to help people. And if they cannot navigate with the utilities themselves, that they should contact the Office of the People's Counsel at info@opc-dc.gov or call 202-727-3071. And if you have a billing dispute, what they emphasize is don't just call. A lot of people say, I called Washington Gas, I called Pepco. You got to put these complaints in writing, because that you need to have a record. So if there are any questions, please let me know, and I will put those telephone numbers for the Office of the People's Counsel in the chat. Okay, next is DPW seeking comments on zero waste DC plan. Now, Commissioner Bouquet later in our meeting will talk about our resolution for this on this issue, but the Department of Public Works is asking any resident, business stakeholder, or community leader to make comments on their zero waste DC public comment period. You can find the zero waste DC plans draft framework at, and I will put this in the chat, https://publicinput.com/ZWDCP plan. Excuse me, ZWDC plan. And you can also, they want your feedback, and you can visit zerowwaste.dc.gov/ZWDC plan. And later in the meeting, Commissioner Bouquet is going to talk about the resolution that the commission is considering submitting, because there are many problems with DPW. We know that many times the buildings, the apartment buildings there are certain requirements that they have that they're supposed to adhere to, but they're not enforced by DPW. That's it for that.
Chair Bowser,
yes, go ahead.
may I just add really quick? So for the folks that are joining us tonight, this is essentially the city's draft framework on how they will approach waste recycling and compost management over the next couple of years. And it's incredibly important. You see the litter all over our ANC boundaries, but also just in the city. And it's critical if you are affected. I know some of the residents in my single member district are affected by rodents, et cetera, et cetera. It's important for you to lend your voice to this. We put the link to the zero waste plan draft framework in the chat. There are multiple ways in which you can provide feedback. One is by taking their survey, which is within that link. The other is by providing direct comments to each of their goals and proposed actions. And you can always email DPW directly and email us directly. But if litter is of concern to you, and it is to us, please definitely take the moment to review what the city is proposing and submit your feedback. That's it, Chair Bowser. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Thank you very much. And I think it doesn't have to be in any type of specific language, but if you're having a problem with an apartment building on your block or in your neighborhood where the apartment building owner has a dumpster barely bigger than the dumpster that an individual resident would have, and they have 32 apartments in that building, the trash and garbage is overflowing, and it can't help but do that. And that's when many residents put stuff in the public receptacles. That's one of the major problems. So even if you just want to put in a statement on something like that, that is key, because that doesn't even need a zero waste future plan. It needs the enforcement for what they're supposed to be doing now, which many times is not occurring. But as I say, the details that about the plan, Commissioner Bouquet will go into later. All right, I think we're now at community comment. You have 2 minutes for any resident who or anyone joining the meeting who wants to make a comment, question, criticism, suggestion to the commission. Please unmute yourself and do so. You have 2 minutes to raise your issue.
Yeah, and I would just add that if Stacy Lincoln, who is with Councilmember Anita Bonds' office, is in attendance, I know that he had requested to be on the agenda sort of at the last minute. So now's a good time to make the comments at this meeting if they're here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes.
It looks like Ms. Johnson.
Oh, I see a
Ms.
hand.
Johnson.
Sharon Johnson. Please go ahead. Unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, I kind of missed part of what was going on, but it's the issue, are we talking about trash being picked up properly?
Well, with the zero waste DC plan is supposed to be, how do we get to zero waste in the district in the future? So it includes trash being picked up properly. For example, I did not know until recently that owners of 4-unit apartment buildings, I know they're supposed to pick up their own trash. They're supposed to have private trash.
Exactly. Okay,
but
so right,
it's supposed to be several times a week. And I know that's not the problem because I reported several over the years.
Okay, thank you. So this is, I guess, the right time for me to address this. Once again, I live right across from the Triangle Park. It's not only apartment buildings. I actually see residents literally walking from like 7th and 8th on Gallatin with bags of trash that they physically bring from their homes and dump in the trash cans across the street. Then the other issue is, and in cars as well, but then the other issue is, if our trash in this area is picked up on Wednesdays, I've had the issue and I addressed it. They say it's not the park that should be picking up this trash. Then why, if they're picking up our trash from our alleys and our fronts, that we cannot be scheduled, the park cannot be scheduled for pickups once a week as well? Because last week, the trash was just overflowing, just like I said, from neighbors dumping trash. Then I was going to pick it up, but they finally came and got the trash, but then they left so much debris behind, I physically picked up the trash myself. So, I mean, it's just a problem. I know for us, the actual trash cans they put in the park are the wrong ones because the opening on the top isn't large enough. So if an individual places something on top, not taking the time to insert it properly, then whomever comes behind them just places it on top. So, I mean, it's besides posting a police there or somebody there 24/7, I don't know how this problem is going to be corrected. You know, I'd say sometimes residents rather take a chance getting caught and getting fined than actually putting it in their own dumpsters in some cases. So I just don't know what to do. I mean, I'll continue because I don't like having to look out of my window or sit on my porch and see the trash over there. So I will do my part in getting it up. And as well, I'll address neighbors and tell them that's not for public dumping.
Right. Well, the thing is, if you see it, you can continue to call about it. One of the things that, this is years ago, that I was at public hearings saying that they should get the type of disposal that actually they have them at the Naval Observatory, that they're actually trash, recycle bins actually at the corners. They don't have that, but they could. That would help with that would break up the trash and make it smaller between pickups.
Okay, but with that being said too, is there anything that we can do to have these trash receptacles replaced with a better one? Because that would kind of help our issue going around.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something that we can advocate for. Yes.
Yeah, Chair Bowser, if I can just mention, because Larry Allen Park's my S&D, and I've dealt with DPW a lot on this, but for Sharon's awareness and everyone else's awareness, I actually did request last year at some point that DPW include like those modernized, much better trash receptacles there. And basically their response was, we can't do that because if we do that, they'll eventually break down and the parts will be really expensive. We don't want to replace the parts. And so that's where they pushed back on me on. But I also discovered throughout all of this that the recycling litter cans at the park are actually the responsibility of the Department of General Services, not DPW. So it's very multifaceted. So DPW collects the trash there, DGS collects the recycling there, and another commissioner elsewhere in Petworth told me the other day that he was walking his dog and he noticed either DPW or DGS literally take the can out but leave all the trash on top and did nothing with it, and then just drove away.
Exactly.
And so that's just not acceptable. It's like, if you're there and you see it there and the collector is there, why are you not removing it at that place and time? So what I'm doing is I'm trying to reach out to DPW and DGS to get them on one call and say, hey, can we get new litter cans and can you all collaborate so that it's picked up more regularly and you don't do this anymore? So I'm going to try to do that because it is getting out of control. But
it is. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
I would
much.
say that you need to put your comments into DPW, but also when you see something like that, call every time, because DPW and all the other agencies treat every incident. Like, I've called about alleys, the same alley, I don't know how many times. You send a photo, you make the service request. They treat each incident as an isolated incident. So I'm now telling people, call every time if you have time, but call every time you see it. Mr. Butler or Dylan Butler.
Hi, yes, thank you. First off, my question's also about alleys, Renee, and I actually invited some folks from DPW or on this call to kind of hear this because I've been trying to push this, and I'm in ANC 4D on the block of Farragut Place, the even side. So I face that cemetery that's behind the house. I guess it's the Rock Creek Cemetery. And I brought this up with DPW. I've sent in a bunch of requests, and I brought up with Janice's counsel's office as well. That I think I brought up last year. About speedy. People just zip right through this alley. It's really dangerous. I've seen a lot of kids playing back here. Luckily, no one's been hit. There's a sign that says slow down, 10 miles an hour, but no one listens to those signs. But beyond that, the alley, for those that live, I don't know if there's anybody on who's on my block of the even number block, so 0 to 100, I guess, who actually lives on this alley. If you're on this call, would love to hear if you have a different opinion about this. But it's such in a state of honest disrepair at this point that if you walk through it, there's rats everywhere. And I've seen alleys in prior neighborhoods have rat boxes positioned by the government. I've made requests for that, and that hasn't come through. I've also asked for potholes to be fixed back here. And one time they came in and just dumped that asphalt into these potholes, that kind of black asphalt stuff, the tar, that all just wear away. And during right now we're not in storm season anymore, but during storm season, because it's so low lying on the at the bottom of kind of all these hills that we live in Petworth, that it actually creates this river, this funnel, and people have had their garbage cans actually picked up and swept down the street and gone for a block. So what I've been requesting and what I'm hoping to hear, and I know that all of you are very busy and that, in the grand scheme of everything that's important, this is more my personal issues, but it is sort of an environmental safety hazard, public health hazard back there, all the rats, all this water buildup and things like that, I'd like to at least have somebody from the city or someone just come and take a walk with me. Like I've been just kind of asking for that. Like, let's just look at this problem and see what can piecemeal be done. I keep putting in requests, but the requests, as you say, they're treated as one-offs. So I put in a request, there's trash in the alley. They pick it up. That's great. That's not a system. That's not a way to systemically improve this alley. So, if someone would be willing to, help me figure this out, I would love it. I've been, I think it's I've talked to my neighbors, they put in the same requests, just nothing gets done. And outside of short of just picking up trash every once in a while, the core issue, just like the alley is disgusting and in a state of disrepair, it just nothing seems to move. So I don't really know what, other than short of bringing it to you guys in ANC, who else to contact, what else I can do about it.
Okay, thank you for that. If you would, you can email me or call me, and we will try to take it to a higher level.
Okay.
Because just earlier this week on Monday, I talked to the new interim assistant director or something of the suite division of DPW. And, but they're, with the alley condition, that's DDOT. And so
yeah, I think so. I talked to DDOT, and I've been in touch with Denise's office, and they put me on an email with both DDOT and DPW.
They do.
I have
Okay.
it. I can forward that email to Renee if you'd like to see it.
Okay, if you can. It's just my first name dot last name at anc.dc.gov.
It's Renee. Sorry. So your first name, Renee Bowser.
Yes.
At dc.gov.
At anc.dc.gov.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Bowser, if I can say, this is Yami, Ward 4 Moker.
Yes, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Mr. Butler, so I did want to state the fact that we actually, Mokers, DOH, DPW, all did a walkthrough throughout the area, and we did walk around the outings of Rock Creek Church in regards to the rodent concerns and the trash and the apartment buildings that aren't getting their trash picked up. So some NOIs were issued, and as of right now, we're trying to work with scheduling a meeting with Rock Creek Cemetery, because the burrows are inside of their property. So it's a lot of the DOH has been treating the surrounding areas outside of their private property, but we're trying to work with them and trying to figure out how we can come to an agreement as they do their part, so we can also help control the rodent concerns that are leading outside of there. So
yeah, thank you.
Can also
the
email
runoff
me.
Bad.
Sorry?
I said the runoff from the cemetery is really bad, that downhill slope too. So thank you for looking at that.
Yeah, so I'll drop my email on the chat as well. So if you can forward those 311 requests to me as well, I can definitely look into that for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Escobar. I really appreciate that. Okay, I don't see any other comments from the community. And if hearing none, we're going to move on to our city officials.
Chair Bowser, we have Charvis Campbell from HR Records to do the grant presentation here. If we can do that piece first.
Oh yeah, the person's here. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Come on with it. Yes.
Hello, folks. How are you?
I'm fine. We're fine.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Should I just go into it, or is any questions?
Please.
Or
I mean, you're going to give a summary of your why you're seeking a grant application.
That is correct.
And so if you can give like a 3 to 5 minute summary, and then we'll see if there are any questions.
Wonderful. Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Charvis Campbell. I own HR Records. I'm also the head of our foundation, Home Rule Music and Film. Again, we're located on Kennedy Street. We hosted a music and movie night in June, and it was amazing success. I anticipate a rough count. We had between 100 to 200 people at the height of it, and to see families and kids and all folks just, again, enjoying the atmosphere, enjoying the block, that's what we're looking for. We've received support from some of the local businesses with respect to having them support us and participate. So we have Ancho, we have Everyday Sunday, we'll be there. We have Soup Up. And so from 5 to 6:30, about 6:45, depending upon what time it truly gets dark, we'll start with music and some activities. We'll have a pumpkin carving, a bouncy house, activities, additional activities for the kids. And then at 6:45, we'll transition into a screening of a film, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is about a 2-hour film. So in all, the event will go from about 5 to about 9, taking into account the movie component, as well as kind of the fun activities beforehand. In June, and even in fact, last week, we hosted a kind of foam event where, it was literally foam and soap, and but it's probably going to be too cold. Well, it will be too cold in October, so we're not going to do the foam. But again, the expectation is it's still a fun, festive atmosphere for the entire community. I think everyone on this call knows some of the challenges Kennedy Street has faced, even most recently as last week with the shooting. And so every chance I get and we get to remind people that Kennedy Street is a safe place, it's welcoming, it's supportive, and it's fun, we're going to try to do that. And so we would appreciate your support if we can do that.
I have a question. What type of outreach do you do for the event, and who do you outreach to?
Sure. So one of our main partners is Uptown Main Street. And so we kind of utilize them to a great deal in terms of their outreach and their email and their social media, but we also use ours as well as our partners. So the expectation is that everyone involved will be supporting the event, promoting the event, and encouraging people to attend the event. In the past, we've hit some of the local daycare centers and schools and DC PR, making sure that they're aware of the event. So we'll continue to do that to make sure that we can invite everybody. We want this to be open and a great event, and everyone's welcome.
And including the Kennedy, that's only a couple blocks from you?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And my last question is, you have the total cost of the project is $4,500 at the top, but further down, you have the total overhead cost of the project is $2,000. Can you explain that difference?
Yeah, I apologize. That might have been an error. The request from you was for 2,000, and I hope that represents that. The overall expenses for the budget is it may be a little bit over 45, but we'll try to keep it at 45.
You're just asking, that's the amount you're asking for us.
That's
the 2,000, and the project is actually double that. Okay, thank you.
Exactly. Yes.
Got it. Any other questions, commissioners, before we turn to any questions from our attendees?
Hi, thanks, Chair Bowser. Hey, Jarvis, it's Eric. I guess it's only, you haven't been around for the other grant applications, but some of the commissioners here on the northern end of 4D reminded some of the southern events that they should reach out to the Kennedy and the Emory Rec Center and some of the northern neighbors here. So I think it's only fair to remind you to reach out to the southern part of the area as well, since we should reach out to the whole area of 4D. So
sure,
I just wanted to highlight that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And sir, can I ask you, do you give any flyers to the guys that it's on my mind, because I've got some flyers to flyer about some IT training, but do you along Kennedy Street, do you put the flyers to the people along Kennedy Street who the guys that hang out there at 5th and Kennedy, in front of 440 Kennedy, 700 block of Kennedy?
So we have invited them to all of our events in the past, and we'll continue to do that. We typically do post a flyer either at 5th or 6th or 7th, typically where they hang out. So yes, I think if we're going to do this and do it well, I think they're part of our community and we want them there.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from our attendees with respect to Jarvis Campbell and his organization's $2,000 grant request. Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion, Commissioner Israel?
Yes, I make a motion that ANC 4D approve of home rule $2,000 grant application for their October 7th events.
Second. This is now it's formally open for discussion. Is there any further discussion by anyone, commissioner or attendee on this issue before we vote? Okay, hearing none.
Hey, hi, Chair Bowser. This is Commissioner Smith. How are you?
Commissioner Smith, I'm glad you're able to join us. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you tolerating my lateness. But I did have a question because I know we had been discussing three votes on grant packages earlier, and if I missed something while I just got off a plane, if I missed something, I apologize. But have we discussed what to do about approving those all at one time, or if we kind of wanted to discuss, based upon our bank account balance?
Well, yeah, that was an issue that we don't actually have the money to give them right now.
Right.
But we've already voted with respect to Ward 4 Mutual Aid and also with respect to Petworth Spring Art and Teddy Bear. The motions passed to give them the full amount. I abstained on the first one because their project is ongoing and they could get the money later, but both of them passed for the full amount that they requested.
Okay, I understand. So we'll just work on prioritizing based upon when the events that we're granting funds for are occurring so that we make sure everybody gets money. It just may not be like this month.
And we're just gonna have to nag the DC auditor.
Right. Okay, all right, I'm clear now. Thanks so much for that explanation.
Okay, are we ready to vote, commissioners? It's been moved and seconded that we provide a grant to Music and Movie Night on Kennedy Street, sponsored by Home Rule Music and Film Foundation. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. And so that grant will be made. Moving along. Do we have Captain Terry here from NPD or any other NPD representative? I know that Captain Porter won't be here, and I reached out to Captain Terry. Okay, hearing none, no representative from the NPD. I'll move on to Ms. Yamila Escobar. I know she's here. She's the mayor's representative. Ms. Escobar, thank you for speaking up earlier. And also you have 5 minutes presentation and 5 minutes for Q&A now to bring us up to date on what's happening with the mayor's office.
Sounds good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Yamila Escobar. I'm the Ward 4 Community Liaison from the mayor's office. I just have a couple of little announcements. Don't want to take up too much time. One of them is about vaccines. As you know, the weather is changing. So Mayor Bowser and DC Health encourages all DC residents to receive their annual influenza shot as well as their COVID-19 booster. As of Wednesday, September 7th, these vaccines are now available at all pharmacies and clinics throughout the district, including the the COVID centers here in Ward 4, which is at the People's Church. I just wanted to highlight, if you guys are aware of any families that have kids that are enrolled in DCPS or any DC schools that has, so if it's any type of DC schools, there is a program called Kids Ride Free under Mayor Muriel Bowser, which is a program that provides basically a smart trip that has money in it for kids to get to and from school, as well as activities throughout the district for free. They can pick up those cards from their school administrators, sorry. So just wanted to highlight that. Another thing that I want to highlight is Mayor Mira Bowser and the Department of Housing and Community Development are urging residents to take advantage of two important homeownership programs, which is the Home Purchase Assistance Program, which is HPAP, and the Homeowner Assistance Fund, which is abbreviated as HAF. Both programs have dates coming up that residents should know about. On September 30th, the district foreclosure moratorium will end, but homeowners who have struggled to keep up with mortgages and bill payments can get protection from foreclosures if they have applied to HAF by the end of by the deadline. Additionally, on October 1st, which marks the start of the new fiscal year, the maximum down payment assistance that residents can receive through HPAP will increase from $80,000 to $202,000. You can visit you can visit dhcd.dc.gov for more information. I'll drop that on the chat for you guys to have. On Monday, September 19th, Mayor Mira Bowser announced the historic launch and expansion of the groundbreaking 24.8 million Career Mobility Action Plan, which is abbreviated as Career Map pilot, doubling down on the commitment to give more families in the district a fair shot to the middle class. The mayor also cut the ribbon on the newly modernized Taylor Street Service Center here in Ward 4. The new Career Map pilot will provide up to 600 families who are transitioning from homelessness with housings and income assistance, career advancements, and family support. 300 families have already signed up for the pilot. And on Monday, the mayor announced a 13.1 expansion of the program that will allow an additional 300 families to enroll in 2023. I'll drop the link for that so you guys can look into that and share it with whoever you believe will need it. And other than that, I just want to invite you guys. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Fiesta DC, which is a parade that has been going on for many, 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 many years. And this year it is going to be on the 25th. So if you guys are looking something to do over the weekend, bring down the kiddos, and they'll have live music. The parade is going to have honoring all Hispanic heritage for Hispanic Heritage Month in all the countries. Have tons of food, tons of fun. And yeah, that's on Sunday, September 25th. And that's pretty much all I have. If you have any questions, happy to take them now. I apologize for the mistakes, a little under the weather.
That's fine. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify something I thought I heard you say. Is the Homeowner Assistance Fund, is there a deadline to apply for that?
There is a deadline, but let me get the exact date for you and I'll drop it.
Okay.
1 second. Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions from any other commissioners before we ask our attendees if they have questions for Ms. Escobar?
Yeah, just really quickly. Hi, Yami, how are you? I hope you feel better soon. I'm sorry you're under the weather. I'm a little disappointed that we don't have a representative from MPD on the line, just given the uptick in crime, specifically gun-related violence that we've seen in our area over the past several weeks. So if there's any way that you can relay the message to the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety and Justice and to MPD, that it's really essential that we have that presence here at these meetings to address those concerns, and we have several, we would greatly appreciate it.
Right. And I do want to say that the deputy did say he was going to come, but he had a family emergency, so he's now currently out. I did hear that MPD wants everyone to join in on their sector meeting, but I definitely will flag that the presence is wanted on the monthly meetings as well for you guys.
Thank you.
Commissioner Israel?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, hope you feel better as well. So you probably heard the conversation earlier in the meeting about Larry Allen Park, and it's always been an issue, but it's definitely recently gotten significantly worse. And if there's anything you could do to help me sort of have like a coordinated call with DPW and DGS and the right officials who are overseeing the collection, that would be fantastic, because I think there's a disconnect. And if what I heard was true about people coming to pick up the trash, literally leaving bags of trash there, that's just not acceptable and nonsensical and is contributing to the problem. So if there's anything you do to help me, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. We know that we've both been working on this park and this trash for some time now. I've definitely I got looped into 2 people from DGS. So I'm still waiting on some dates and time, and then definitely we'll loop you in so we can have this meeting together, because I've definitely flagged all the trash that I see on those corners, and I've definitely have been keeping an eye on it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any attendees that have any questions for Yamileth Escobar, the mayor's representative? Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much for attending, Yamileth, particularly because you're under the weather. I really appreciate it. We all do.
No, of course, I'll stick around.
All right, thank you. The mayor, next is the Ward 4 Council Member's Office, 5-minute presentation and 5-minute Q&A. And the person that is representing Council Member Louis George is Gurmash Escudar. Ms. Escudar, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you for attending.
Yes, I'm a new staff member, so just wanted to introduce myself. I'm part of the constituent services team and looking forward to working with all of you. I'll be presenting some legislative updates and some more community-based updates, and I'll start with the legislative side. Council is back from recess starting last Thursday. On Tuesday, we had our first legislative session, which included passing an emergency bill to create the Office of Migrant Services to provide short-term support to migrants being bused to DC from Texas, Arizona, Florida. Unfortunately, the bill also included provisions that restrict access to long-term homelessness services for immigrants and asylum seekers. As such, Councilmember Lewis opposed these provisions and is working to remove them in future versions of the bill. And thank you to all folks who have called into the office to voice your advocacy around these issues. The council has also passed the council members' bill, the DCPS Tech Equity Bill, which will require DCPS to form an advisory committee of community stakeholders to produce a 3-year plan, which will ensure that all of our students and educators have access to the technology that they need to thrive. Additionally, I'm sure you have all heard of the litter issues that we've been discussing throughout the meeting and throughout the community. The council member has introduced a bill that will require DPW to issue notice to ANCs and give them great weight in the decision to remove public litter cans. This is response to several litter cans in Ward 4 and across the city being removed without any notices being provided, and no replacements as well. And definitely an issue in terms of public health and community cleanliness. So that's definitely something the council member is monitoring. I did want to flag that there is a hearing on Wednesday, November 17th for the Green New Deal for Housing Act, which the council member has introduced. This will create social housing in DC and address the rampant homelessness issues that our communities are facing. There's information on how to testify on our website, and I can also provide that in the chat and follow up as needed. To more community-based updates, last week, we had our first Care Day, and these events are basically resource fairs where we have representatives from various agencies, DDOT, DPW, DCRA, DC Health, come out to, with us and the council member in various communities and just let folks know, like how to contact these agencies, what resources are available, and how we can work together with these agencies to improve conditions within communities. Tomorrow we will be at Colonial Village, and then October 6th, we will be in Petworth, and October 7th, we will be in Brightwood Park. I'm happy to provide information for those events in the chat as well, so you can let your community members, families, friends know how to find the council member during those days. Lastly, we will be having a senior jubilee on Wednesday, October 19th from 1 to 3 p.m. This will be similar to the Care Days, where we will have agency representation, but more specific to needs that seniors are interested in, ranging from Medicare to how to address housing issues, and Social Security, etc. And again, that'll be on Wednesday, October 19th. Definitely something our office is pushing, and we definitely want great community turnout there. So would love if people can plug to their networks. And again, I can drop that in the chat. And lastly, just want to make a plug. If you are not signed up to the council members newsletter, please do so. It goes out every Friday and provides legislative and community-based updates from the previous weeks, and provides kind of an overview of what the next week priorities will look like. And that is all. Happy to take any questions, and I'll also drop my contact information in the chat.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gurmash, and Escudar. And commissioners, do you have any questions for the council members representative? I just want to say, I didn't know that she had voted against it before I turn it over. I'm sorry to break in after I turned it over. I really appreciate the council member voting against the measure, because it would really kind of expose people. The way it was done would expose people who their immigration status to get certain benefits. So I think that's a real problem there. There were some other poison pills. Okay, moving on. Any other, Commissioner Bouquet.
Briefly, Ms. Escudar, thank you so much for coming, and it's nice to meet you. With regard to the tech equity bill, I recognize that it's specifically for DCPS, and I completely understand the separate law that governs charters, but just wondering what kind of attention is given to public charter schools, and if the council member is working with the public charter school board or the deputy mayor for education's office for similar equity issues to be raised within the charter sector.
Yes, that's definitely an issue that the council member is monitoring, and our legislative staff, Will Perkins, who does most of our educational policy, is in contact with charter school representation on a weekly basis, and this is definitely an issue that we're focused on. This bill does focus on public school equity, but if you have any questions or suggestions around charter school equity, I can definitely pass you Will's email, as that is something that we're going to be bringing up throughout the session.
I have Will's email. It's good to know that he's the one leading this, so I'll reach out to him directly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions or comments for Ms. Escudar? Okay. Moving on to our attendees, does any attendee have a concern or a question for the council members representative? Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much for attending, Ms. Escudar, and I hope you have a very fruitful employment experience with our council member, Ward 4 council member. It's a busy office.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, let us move on. We don't have, and I did not hear from our State Board of Education representative, so we're going to move on to our main presenter tonight. And it's Mr. Christian Pinero. He's a community engagement specialist for wards 3 and 4. He will have 10 minutes for presentations, and we'll have 10 minutes to ask him questions and make comments after his presentation. We have also sent him some questions that we want to ask that he will respond to in this during his presentation. I see the hand up for Uptown Main Street. Very quickly, did you want to say something?
Yes, Commissioner, if you can hear me, I'm sorry. I've been trying to ask a question and chime in during community comments, but we other things keep happening. But I don't want to take a lot of your time, and of course, all of the residents logged in here. I had a question for the council members rep, but I will reach out independently to them regarding that that abandoned property on 3700. 14th Street, the corner of 14th and Spring. I get a lot of questions. I don't know if commissioners get a lot of questions on that property. I know it's further down, but it's just related to all the abandoned properties.
Yeah, it's
but
ANC
it's related to all the. It was a question in general about all these properties, but we bring that up every meeting, so I'll do that another time. On to more positive things. I just want to remind everybody that we have an awesome program for Art All Night on Friday. So I put the link in the chat for our website and a special page for Art All Night with an interactive map of the entire program. I want everybody to participate. This is a free event, and it's for family friendly and for all tastes. And it's all over Ward 4. There are other Main Streets participating, but we have it on 4 corridors. And we have some great stuff on Kennedy Street. So 14th, Georgia, and Upshur. So don't miss it. I hope you come out on Friday, and I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I see you're here, Mr. Pinero. We welcome you. You are about our 3rd or 4th Ward 4 DDOT representative in 2 years. And but you've been very communicative, and we really appreciate your attendance here tonight. I know you're talking about Vision Zero. I know you're talking about, that's the timer, try to keep time. No, you're talking about Vision Zero, but we will have some questions for you after that, and open streets. Okay, go ahead, please.
Sorry,
Can we
Mr.
mute
Pinero,
up on Main Street, please?
Gabriela, can you mute yourself?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
apologies.
Go ahead, Mr. Pinero.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner, and ANC 4D. I know we've had a lot of, been very communicative with several commissioners on this panel and residents as well. I actually do, I have 2 of my colleagues on that are going to do 2 separate presentations. So I have Anja Raventa. She's going to do our brief presentation on open streets. And then I have my colleague, Christine Mayer, who will do a presentation on our new Safe School Streets program that's relative to our Vision Zero. So I'll let both of them take the lead, and then I'll happy to take any questions regarding just general DDOT stuff afterwards, if that's okay.
Okay, and let them know they have 10 minutes together.
Correct, yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
I can, yes.
Perfect. I'm gonna keep my camera off because my cats are pretty active at this time and they're kind of jumping everywhere. So I don't want to cause any distractions. I will share my screen and briefly talk about open streets. I know I don't have that much time. So let me just share my, host has disabled participant screen sharing. So
yeah,
we unable.
Yes, usually Commissioner Noble with advance notice will get any presentation you have and put it on. Commissioner Noble, are you available to give her the host rights for the brief period that she will be doing her presentation? And if she promises to give it back to you so we don't get cut off as a meeting?
Yep, Andrea, I will do that now.
Perfect, thank you. All right, perfect. So let me. Apologies, I'm just setting that up. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
We can now, yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to briefly talk about the third edition of Georgia Avenue Open Streets. Really quickly, an agenda. I'm going to just quickly introduce myself, briefly cover what Open Streets is and what some of the benefits are. I'll then go into the day of event details since it is coming up in a couple of weeks. Some of the really fun and fabulous expected programming that you can expect at this year's Georgia Avenue Open Streets. A little bit of information from last year's post-event survey, Open Streets in action. There's plenty of awesome pictures from some of the open streets we've had this year, how people are able to access the event, any information about detours, and then of course, any Q&A. So my name is Andra. I am a transportation planner here at DDOT. I work very closely with Kim Baca, who you may be familiar with. She manages mostly the Streetery program. And for this year, as we've done in years past, we are partnering with the local nonprofit District Bridges to help put on Open Streets. So really briefly, what Open Streets is for people who would love a refresher. Open Streets seeks to reimagine streets to prioritize people over cars. Our events provide easy access to recreation and health-oriented programming, promotion of local economic development, and supporting businesses and their activations. And essentially, we reimagine the public roads and reimagine how transportation infrastructure can look in our city. So as it's been done in the past for 2 years, the same 3 miles of Georgia Avenue will be close to cars and open to residents and visitors to safely walk, bike, skate, scoot, rollerblade, and everything in between. There's a lot of fun and family-friendly activities and programming that we've spread out throughout the 3 mile route, and then of course have the opportunity to support local businesses. Couple quick benefits of Open Streets. There are health benefits because closing the road and opening them up to people allows them to essentially openly recreate and enjoy and play this in the street safely. There is economic benefits because we only allow local businesses along the Georgia Avenue route to benefit by providing specials and activating the street space in front of their stores. There's some environmental benefits. People get to learn about alternate modes of transportation. We have a lot of transportation safety related programming that people can learn about. And then there's also the opportunity for community building and getting to rediscover your neighborhood and all the amenities that it has to offer. So specifically, Open Streets this year on Georgia Avenue will take place on Saturday, October 1st. The event is officially happening from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., although programming in some instances, especially with fitness and entertainment, that will actually start at 10 a.m. this year. The route itself is going from Missouri Avenue to the north, down to Berry Place and Howard University to the south. Some specific day of details. Open Streets is of course free. There's no cost to attend, of course, unless you're supporting a local business and you want to purchase something from them. If possible, we do encourage people to walk or ride or bike to Open Streets. Georgia Avenue will be closed to traffic So the official closures will be from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on that day only. Courtesy tows will begin at midnight on October 1st. The event will happen in rain or shine, so be sure to watch the weather and you can bring a rain jacket. We'll still be there. It'll still happen. Open Streets is open to people of all ages and all abilities. We have a lot of programming that are geared towards children, families, and seniors. So really there's something for everything at this year's Open Streets. There will be water stations and bathrooms throughout the route, so people will be able to have access and get water, go to the bathroom. There'll be different businesses that we have more than 20 this year that are participating and activating in front of their storefront. And it includes anything from samples and music and drumming and business specials in general, and lots of swag. So be sure to bring a little backpack or a knapsack of some kind, because we have a lot of programs that are offering a lot of things for you to take home. Some of our expected programming, we've brought Double Dutch back for 2 years now. We're bringing it again for the 3rd time. We will have Chalk Riot come, and there will be art muraling on the streets. We do have a photo booth this year that people can try out, a learn to skate clinic. There will be a foam party. This is actually new. We saw it as a really great success in one of our earlier Open Streets, and we've been bringing it back since. So it's really fun for kids and adults to run through one of the areas, which will be with this foam party. We'll have two stages. There will be a main stage at New Hampshire, just as it's been in years past, and there will be a second stage at Longfellow. And of course, we always close with a go-go band. I believe this year it's TLB who's coming. We do have a lot of transportation-related programming, including demonstrations for tandem bike riding for people who are interested in learning about that. There'll be scooter and e-bike lessons. We do have a semi-truck that's coming this year, so that we're teaching people about the areas of blind spots around a semi-truck. And the circulator will be back. So for people who are interested in trying out the bike rack and how to install your bike on the bike rack and take it down, we will be doing that. Lots of yoga and lots of free fitness classes for anybody who's interested. We have a couple of activation zones. Again, everything is free, and there is a lot of programming tailored to people of all ages and all abilities. So really quickly, just a couple of points from last year's Georgia Avenue Open Streets in 2021. So about 60% of attendees do come on foot from the surrounding area. In the graph below, you can see over 80% of attendees who've taken our survey are coming from nearby Ward 1 and Ward 4. 55% of attendees ranged from anywhere between 25 years old and 44. And 70% of attendees spent on average about 1 to 3 hours on the corridor, with about half participating in some of our programming. So here's just a couple of images from this year's Open Streets events. We've expanded to bring Open Streets to all wards in Washington, D.C. So given the success of Georgia Ave is the original. So of course we want to bring it back for the 3rd year in the row, but we definitely were able to bring some of the benefits we've had here to other parts of the city. So here's just some more images, people talking, jump roping. You can bring your dogs, you can bring your carriages, and all the above, and really just enjoy the Open Street.
Ms. Rowenta,
yep.
The 10 minutes has expired. Can you wrap up?
Yes, I have just a couple more slides. So really quickly, how to access Open Streets. We do have a get around guide, which I'd be more than happy to share with Christian, who can pass it to the commissioners, of alternate ways to get to Open Streets that avoids using the car. So that's just quickly what it looks like as an example. And then of course, Georgia Avenue detours will be posted by WMATA approximately 2 weeks before the event. So they should be out by now. And then signs will go up next week for people to be aware of. And that's it. Any questions or concerns, you can send them to our email at openstreets@dc.gov. And so sorry, we got really excited about sharing what kind of programming we're bringing, so went a little bit over.
Okay, and will you return the host privileges to Commissioner Noble?
Yes, I'm actually not sure how to do that.
Okay, while you're doing that, Mr. Panero, did you have any, we're now really on the question and answer section of your presentation. Did you have any quick wrap up on any other issue before you begin to answer questions?
You're muted, sir.
So sorry. That's like the first time I made that mistake in like so many. I'll actually let Christine do her quick presentation if that's fine. I know they're kind of in a time crunch, and I'm more than happy to stay on afterwards as well. So yes.
Okay, Ms. Mayor, if you could do what you need to do within a couple minutes, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, I will be brief. So we are piloting a program that we're calling Safe School Streets. It is like Open Streets for Kids on National Walk and Roll to School Day, which is October 12th. The school that we were able to get participate, thanks to Commissioner Israel, is Truesdale Education Campus. So we will be closing the block of Ingraham Street between 8th and 9th to only people walking and biking to school that day, and working with the school to have some detours for parents that do drop off by car. So we'll work with the school to do whether that's all day or just morning pickup or morning drop off and evening pickup. So we're imagining it'll at most be 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on that. So I'll leave it at that, and I can send follow-up information.
Okay, thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Panero.
Yes, thank you so much. Really do appreciate the time tonight. I do want to touch on just a couple things, and then if there's any community questions, I can, of course, answer those. The first is I know that there's an outstanding NOI from last June at Georgia, Varnum, and Iowa Avenue, I believe. I've worked closely with our traffic safety engineers to get work orders in for that particular intersection. I'm currently awaiting updates to see when those will be implemented, but I'm working on expediting those. So thank you for your long patience on that. I think it's one of those locations that really just kind of slipped through the bandwidth we have and capacity. So I appreciate your patience there. And I know there's been several questions I've received regarding like speed tables and how residents can request those. So that would actually follow our traffic safety investigations process, which I'm more than happy to kind of either share via email or come back in another meeting and present. But that's going to be through 301. There's a feature on 301 where residents can go and click traffic safety investigations, fill out the information that gets sent directly to our traffic engineering division. They have 130 business days to review those. Speed tables are a little different than speed humps because they actually require substantial data collection, especially on collectors or higher classification roads like arterials. And so whether they meet those certain dynamics and criteria, that would initiate a response whether we proceed or not proceed with those requests. So those take a little bit longer, but it does follow the exact same traffic safety process we have for always stops, for speed humps, curb extensions, etc. And I'm happy to answer any other questions. I know you sent me some, but I rather open it to the floor for everyone else so I don't hog everyone's time.
I see Commissioner Bouquet has a question.
Christian, thank you so much. It's been really great working with you. I was the one that submitted the speed table question. I had put in a request for a speed table at the intersection of 5th and Jefferson, and it was denied. That's fine. We just weren't ever given a reason, and I was asked to FOIA the reason. And so I'm just wondering if I can work with you to at least understand why a speed table was denied for that area. I can obviously forward you the TSI for that, and whether or not we can reopen it if the residents that had wanted it don't find the reasoning sufficient?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm more than happy to work with you directly. There are a variety of things just in general that can cause a speed table request in particular to be closed out, whether that's the volume, the ADT, or the average daily traffic of roads. There's a certain threshold that has to meet. So I can definitely work with you to find out what those details are and provide those updates.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner Israel?
Yes, thank you for being here, Christian, and everyone else from DDOT. My really quick question is just regarding the October 12th event at Truesdale, the Safe Streets Pilot Program. Thank you for picking Truesdale as the one Ward 4 school. There are about 16 row houses on the 800 block of Ingraham Street, who are my constituents on the other side of Truesdale. So I was just wondering what DDOT was planning on doing regarding the notification of the street closure prior to the 12th of October.
Thanks for that question. So we will be flyering the community and putting door hangers on people's doors. And then I'm printing yard signs that will also go along the kind of buffer strip and corners, just to make sure, you know, if people don't use their front doors or whatever, that they are aware in some capacity.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sir Linjo, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Christian. I've communicated a lot of questions with you via email that I hope we can continue to work on. As you know, Director Lawson and Mayor Bowser was at our meeting a year ago speaking about the intersection of Georgia and Kennedy, saying very soon a lot more improvements were coming, and it's worse now a year later. So I was curious about why there's absolutely no follow-up there, where we lost one of our young constituents, a 4-year-old boy, a year and a half ago, and absolutely nothing has been done by DDOT. Actually, it's been worked backwards, and TSI requests have been closed out without nothing being done. But we're talking about that offline. So I actually want to talk about something that you were just mentioning, speed tables, that popped up in my mind. Has there been any conversation about the speed tables and speed humps? We see a lot more in the neighborhood, which I welcome. Any sort of traffic calming is welcome. But I've noticed that DPW street sweepers have a really hard time with them, and a lot of trash gets stuck on the side they're coming from. Has there been a discussion between DDOT and DPW about that they actually need to pass twice with the street sweepers, one time from the west and one time from the east, or one time from the north and one time from the south, to actually pick up? Because otherwise it just collects at the new speed humps. Or would that be actually a move to do other traffic calming measures than speed bumps in the future to help the street sweepers to keep our streets clean?
Yeah, Commissioner, thanks for the question. That's the first I'm hearing about that. I don't think there's been coordination with our agency and DPW. It sounds like to me, is it more residents who leave their trash outside on the curb and they just builds up and then it impedes with the location of the speed hump? Is that correct?
No, it's just when the street sweeper comes, anything is picked up in the last 50, 100, 150 feet doesn't get sucked up into the street sweeper yet. Everything that's underneath it gets dumped at the speed hump. So it becomes a giant pile of trash at the speed humps in the directions that they're traveling. So I've seen a couple of times where the street sweeper comes back and then it will pick up that because then it's passing on that side. But a lot of times the DPW crews don't have time, I think, to go both east and west or north and south. They only have time to go one direction, and that used to be good when there wasn't a speed hump there. But now there's just a giant pile of trash there, unfortunately. So I was wondering if DPW was coordinated with the street sweepers when you guys put in a new speed hump, which again, traffic calming is great. I really appreciate it. But maybe DPW needs to know so the route for that street sweeper takes, it's counted for a couple of minutes longer or something like that, where there's more speed humps in a neighborhood.
Yeah, and thanks for clarifying. That is definitely something that we can work with DPW on. I don't think that's an issue I've experienced in other parts of the city, but I'm more than happy to work with you on those. The standard size for speed humps is standardized across the district. This per federal regulations. There are 4 inches at height, and they have a 18-inch taper on the ends, which allows larger trucks to proceed over, and it doesn't really impede that focus. But there's a lot of other design criteria that goes into where they're located, how they're assessed for various vehicles. So that's definitely something I can get more information on from our engineers on whether street sweepers are part of that conversation. But that's definitely something I think we can work tangentially with our partner agency.
Thank you.
And just on that issue, Mr. Pinero, it would be helpful to know whether, and I guess we could check that, whether DPW is supposed to go traditionally on my block, they do 2 times. They go down the street, come back up on each side. And so if the speed humps or speed tables are preventing them from doing that, we would like to know.
Certainly, yeah, and there have been certain times where we've noticed that some of the humps are actually incorrectly installed. We do have a contractor with Fort Myers that does most of our installations across the city, and so there have been several times where they've been actually out of regs. So we've actually had to have our QA/QC team go out there and inspect and reassess those. So it could possibly be this particular speed hump is also too high. You know, it's probably out of regs in that sense. So that's something that I can also have our quality assurance team look at to verify if that's an issue or not.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions from the attendees for Mr. Pinero on DDOT related issues, including open streets? And
yes. The 5100 block of Illinois Avenue, what is the protocol for the trash sweep, the street cleaners to pick up or go up and down the street? Because in some cases, they'll go down this block, the truck did not do what it's supposed to, and it's gone on about its business and don't come back till the next week. Next week, the same issue happens. Are they not supposed to do it twice?
well, this is a DPW issue, so we're going to have to verify that with DPW.
So street cleaning is not under DDOT?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, add that to you, Yamala. Thanks.
Okay.
No
Any
worries.
other questions? Any other questions from attendees? And I'm going to check that myself because I'm curious to find out if that's a requirement. Any other questions or comments from attendees for Mr. Pinero? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Pinero. We're going to quickly move on. Really appreciate your time. And I see that the questions we sent you answered them in writing. So, and they were to all of us. So we will, if there's information that we need to disseminate to our constituents, we'll do that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair Bowser. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, moving on, we have the next issue is we're following up on a special exception request, a BZA case for 300 Ingraham Street Northwest. And we last heard a presentation from Mr. Gerard Tria, who is the applicant. We heard that presentation, I believe, in June. And there were questions with respect to the water runoff, and also questions with respect to the next door neighbor. Was the next door neighbor in agreement with the proposed construction? The requirement is to ask neighbors on either side. In this case, there's only a neighbor on one side, a homeowner at 5239 Kansas Avenue. And we wanted to make sure that, the BZA requires us to find out what are the sentiments of those homeowners. And so, Mr. Tria, if you're here, if we'd appreciate you addressing the water runoff issue. I think that's an issue that that was raised when you presented back in June.
Yeah, how you doing, Chair Bowser? So my architect is actually, I believe he's on, Dirk is on. And I don't know if you guys can bring up the plan that we submitted for the runoff control.
I actually sent it. Let me ask Commissioner Noble if he has it. I sent it to the commissioners, but I don't have it in front of me. Does your architect have it so that we could give him the hosting provisions and he can put it up?
Yeah, I believe we can do that. Dirk, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I do have access to that drawing.
Okay, Commissioner Noble, can you temporarily give him hosting provisions?
Yes, we'll do.
Thank you. Set the timer.
Okay. There was some concerns. Well, my name is Dirk Garlick. I'm the architect representing Mr. Tria on the project. And there were some concerns about the proximity to the adjacent property. And the neighbor's yard is back here facing the public alleyway, and the front of the building facing out towards Ingram. Because of the density of the area, and there's a small amount of grass and impervious pavers, along this side. There was some question in regard to the runoff that was coming off the proposed addition, and then further mitigating the runoff that was, that's an existing condition from the current residents. So what we have done is we've created a storm retention system, and it's a collection of a 500-gallon cistern that collects the storm water. It will be collected through a pipe system that channels the water from the downspouts that are coming down the side of the roof on this side of the property, and then any of the groundwater through here, sloping the swales so that it's captured into this pipe and then funneled into the cistern. The way the cistern works is then once it fills up, if there's an overflow, that releases the check valve and then sends it out towards the street, where there's a pop-up called a drainage emitter, and could be used for watering, or just send it out to the street sidewalk.
Up toward Abraham Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then there's also an additional pipe on this side of the property that does the same thing. We're just collecting the liters from the roof. There's a existing flat roof up there that we're going to collect, take it down into the stormwater collection system, and send it to the front of the property. That's what we've done as far as mitigation of the adjacent properties stormwater management. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to field those.
Commissioners, do you have any questions on this additional presentation?
I just have a very brief one. Have these water runoff plans been approved by DCRA and whatever, I guess DC Water?
Yeah, so the way that this process works is you guys are our first stop in a long line of approvals, where additional engineers, town engineers, zoning, and building department will all review these plans and make comments.
I see.
As we move through the process, specifically for a small residential project.
So basically, following up on Commissioner Bouquet's question and your answer, we can't know whether these proposals are sufficient to pass muster with the authorities that actually know, that are authorized to review things like that.
Right. I would request that the neighborhood association has faith in the licensed professionals to produce documents and a project that would be then satisfactory to the governing authorities. That is our job to help Mr. Tria, move this through the process as we've done, through the association, and whether it's a stormwater management, whether it's a sun study or structural work on the building. It will all need to pass local, municipal codes, national building codes, and national standards. So.
Okay, yeah, I mean, because we don't have, I personally, I have no expertise on stormwater management.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think what we would want to show is that, that there are ways to mitigate the issue and that we're not creating a burden or a detrimental effect on the adjacent property.
Okay. Any questions from any other commissioners on this particular issue with respect to the proposed construction? Okay, now, hearing none, we will move to the issue of notice to the next door neighbor. Is Ms. Cullen here?
Yeah, I believe she is on the phone.
Okay, she's just attending on the phone.
Yep.
Okay, Ms. Cullen, can you unmute yourself and talk about your communications with Mr. Tria and what is your position with respect to this proposed construction?
Yes, I've been in conversation with Mr. Tria, and so I am aware of what he's planning to do, and I don't see any problem with it.
Okay. All right. Okay, any questions for, well, my only question to you, Ms. Cullen, is that I've taken photos like as far back as June, and I just want you to realize that it's my understanding that the applicant is saying that the expanded first and second floors will still be 5 feet away from your fence. Is that correct, Mr. Garlick?
That is correct.
Okay, but it's going to be 2 stories, 5 feet away from her back fence, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so
well, I'm sorry. It's one story. So in this photo here, you can see that the ground floor level sits about 4.5, 5 feet above, grade level. So that garage is going to sit, right in this, section, and it'll be the same height so that we can get out of that first floor and down into the garage. And then what we did was we started angling, the roof at this point. So that we're using the attic area above the garage. So it's like over here.
So you're saying it's not going to be 2 stories for the whole length of the addition.
That's correct. So what we tried to do was work with the massing on this side of the house to break it down, I think to address this specific reason. And there's really only dormers that come out over this attic, roofed area for the bedroom that's in this side. This side we've kept, the roof, the gabled roof, and that eave line, much lower. So that was specifically done to there's a perfect view here, to kind of show these are windows into the garage, just to bring light into the garage and work area, his work counter. And then this is just the backside of kind of a 3-foot wall up and then into the gable wall.
Okay, all right. So basically it's not really.
Yeah, it's not 2 floors, it's not.
It's not 2 floors that are moving out toward her fence.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. I got it. Thank you. All right, any other comments from any commissioners or any attendees on this? I will make a motion
Just real quick. Hi, I'm Liz Berganza. My husband Day and I live at 5237. So 2 houses down, and we just want to say Gerard has been in communication with us as well, and we are in support of this project as we share that back alley space.
Right. Will it have any, it won't have any impact because you're one fence, you're a whole house over, right?
Yes. Yep. But we just, wanted to, he's been great about being in communication because obviously we're close, even though we're not next door.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've seen the back of your house as well. Okay. Thank you for that. That's just saying the time is up for this. So let's move to, I move that the ANC 4D approve of the application in BZA case FY 22-29-Z for 300 Ingraham Street Northwest. Is there a second?
I second.
I second.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Bouquet and Commissioner Smith. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments from any commissioner or any attendee before the vote? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor of supporting in our report that we need to make to the Board of Zoning Adjustment, all in favor of supporting this proposed construction, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Ms. Cullen, are you willing to, unless you attend the hearing, the Board of Zoning Adjustment is going to need your position in writing. Are you willing to do that?
Sure. I can do that.
This has to be a short statement. It could be 1 or 2 lines.
When is the meeting?
The hearing is in
October 5th.
Okay, thank you for that.
When is it?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
October 5th. I mean, you could be there if you want, but you can just put a short statement.
Okay.
I think BZA has I think they actually have a form. It's a short 2 or 3 line form. Okay, is that okay with you? All right,
yes,
thank you very much. Okay,
welcome.
thank you, Mr. Garlick and Mr. Tria.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Is there something I have to do to give you back control, or?
Oh, yes, you
Can
have
you
to
take
give
that?
control back to Commissioner Noble. And I will complete the BZA, I think it's form 129 for ANC Commission.
I can actually reclaim it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, next on the agenda, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the application for a renewal of a beverage license for Brightwood Pizza and Bottle for their sidewalk cafe. I didn't even know they were in operation at 711 Kennedy Street. Take it away, Commissioner Linjo.
Thank you, Chair Bowser. Yeah, this will be brief. So we got 2 ABRA requests that I just wanted to highlight for the community to reach out to me if you have any concerns about, because we will bring this up again in our October meeting if we need to protest them, because we have so much time for it. So the 2 applications are for Brightwood Pizza and Bottle Shop, also called On Show at 711 Kennedy Street. This their alcoholic beverage license renewal. The protest deadline for that is October 31st. So again, that is after our October meeting, so plenty of time. And then the hearing date for that is November 21st. The second ABRA application is for Kids Lounge on 5503 Georgia Avenue. They are wanting to change their hours. Their current hours of operations is Sunday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. and Friday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 a.m. The proposed change there is Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. and Monday and Wednesday, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. Again, same dates as the prior one. The deadline for process is October 31st, and the hearing date is November 21st. So again, for both of these, please reach out to me via phone, via email, if you have any concerns whatsoever about these two businesses. So then we can weigh that as an ANC commissioner in our October meeting if we should protest these licenses or not.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Langell. I just note that one of the businesses wants to operate 23 hours a day.
I know, and I walk by there every day, and I never see them open. So it's I'm curious if anyone from the community knows a little bit more about that business than I do.
Okay, great. Okay, next on the agenda is the BCA special exception request presentation by applicant at 5131 2nd Street. That's a 4-unit apartment building where the applicant, Paul M. Backlund, wants to add 2 basement apartments to the 4-unit apartment building. Is there a representative here from, oh, I see you, Mr. Williams. Okay. For that applicant. This is just going to be a short presentation tonight. We're not voting on you tonight, but we usually, unless it's an emergency, have a presentation at one public meeting and then have questions answered and a follow-up presentation and vote at the next public meeting. So take it away. You have 10 minutes, but hopefully you won't use all of that.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowser. And I also have the representing the applicant tonight, Mr. Matt Medvine, who's also on the meeting. And we appreciate your time and consideration. We'll make this quick since I know it's already late. My name is Zach Williams. I'm a land use attorney with Venable, and I'm representing this project. The project's located at 5131 2nd Street Northwest. We're currently in the queue at the BZA as case number 20801. Next slide, please. Here's a illustration of the zoning map and showing our property. As you can see, this is a corner lot at the corner of Hamilton Street and 2nd Street. We are in the RA1 zone, so that's the residential apartment zone. And this is an existing residential apartment house that we'll be making some changes to. Next slide, please. Here we've shown the survey of the property as it exists today. This is a 3,450 square foot property. As I mentioned, it's a corner lot. It's currently a semi-detached house, sorry, semi-detached structure. And the structure that it is shares a party wall with at the south is another apartment house, essentially the same type of building as the building that we're talking about today. The existing apartment house on the property has 4 units. It's a 2-story brick building with a cellar. Next slide, please. Here's some photos of the current conditions of the site. The front of the building there on the left, and then the rear of the building at the right. Again, here you can sort of see that it's obviously the corner lot, but there's a significant area. It's a fairly large lot. There's a significant area of green space. We will not be changing the footprint of the house, of the structure, I should say. So that's an important thing to note. We're going to be making some changes to the cellar to add a few units. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Next slide, please. So here's the proposed project site plan. As I mentioned, we are not changing the footprint of the house. So we're not adding to the house. We're not expanding the house. I keep saying house. It's an apartment house. We're not expanding the structure. We're not adding to the structure. The only changes that we're making are essentially to convert what is a cellar to add some additional units. And there's as part of that project, we need to add some area wells and a stairwell. And so that impacts lot occupancy by about 2%. So those are 2 things we need to get BZA approval for. As of a few years ago, this type of a project wouldn't have needed BZA approval, but based on a recent zoning interpretation, any time you add new units in the RA1 zone now requires BZA approval. And so that's why we are here to ask you for your support tonight. Next slide, please. So we are essentially asking for two different items of relief from the BZA. The first, as I mentioned, is to add 2 units to an existing 4-unit apartment house. Again, those will be added in the existing cellar. We will not be doing any building additions here. That's a special exception. And then the second special exception is to increase the lot occupancy from what is almost 45% to 47%. And that is just to add the stairway and the area wells. That is something that the BZA can grant as part of a special exception as well in this zone. All of the other work that's going to be done is permitted and by right in the zone. It doesn't need any additional approvals or relief. Next slide, please. I just want to walk through the special exception standards that the BZA will be considering when we take this project forward. There's really 2 main standards. One is that the project must be in harmony with the general intent of the zoning regulations. And here, as folks I'm sure know, the RA1 zone is a residential apartment house zone. So it's intended for moderate density development, detached dwellings, row houses, low-rise apartments, and that's exactly what we'll be proposing today. The project's going to meet all of the standards in the RA1 zone, except for lot occupancy, which it's already exceeding. And as I mentioned, we're adding 2% to that, but just to add a stairway and some area walls on the building. Next slide, please. The second standard that we consider for special exceptions is, does it have significant adverse impacts on neighboring property? We typically think about things like light, air, privacy, things like that. Here, unfortunately, because again, we're not changing the footprint of the house, we're not adding to the house building, keep saying house, there really aren't any impacts here to adjacent properties. Adding the window wells and the stairway, we don't think is going to have any significant impacts on any of adjacent properties or neighbors. Also, it's a corner lot. So the advantage there is that we're only attached to 1 home rather than 2. So we take advantage of that, has less impacts on neighbors, some of the construction and other things that we'll be doing. It's a pretty large lot as well, so it's really able to accommodate additional units without any other issues. Next slide, I think that might be my last. Great. Well, with that, I want to just turn it over to Mr. Medveen and thank you for your attention, and we hope for your support here in this case. Matt?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Medveen. I am representing the applicant, Peter, and his father, Paul. We have, piggybacking off of everything Zach said, we have reached out and met with the adjacent neighbor, and they are on board with the project. We've gone over everything with them in detail, met with their property manager, and they are going to be supporting our case. Beyond that, I guess I turn it over. I think Zach did a good job summarizing everything. So if anyone has any other questions or anything else, we're happy to address them.
Thank you for that presentation. As I said, this is your first presentation, and so if there are any questions, when I met with them, they weren't the type of questions that the BZA will consider. I was basically asking about I thought this was a good time to raise the problems with the upkeep of the property with respect to overflowing trash and other alleged problems at that property, rats, and DOH, the Department of Health, did inspect. So with more people comes more, even though this is not a BZA issue specifically, with more people it becomes more trash. And we want to make sure that the owner is a good neighbor in that regard. And so, but are there any questions from commissioners for the 2 presenters for the applicant for 5131 2nd Street Northwest? Any questions from the attendees, our residents?
Chair Bowser, I actually do have several questions, but I'm happy to hold them until we meet in October. I don't know if they'll impact anything. I do generally want to ask. One of them is directly related to the BCA exception. The 2 units in the cellar that you're proposing. How are you ensuring for fire safety? We had 2 residents essentially burned to death on Kennedy Street, just given the horrible conditions that their lower unit was in. And that was years ago, but still it happened. Just how are you taking that into consideration with your plans? Is that part of this exception that you need to submit information for?
So to address that, I don't believe, and Zach can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that's part of the exception. But that will be part of the building permit process. So we're actually going to be making the building safer. It's an old building that hasn't been touched in several decades, and we're going to be gutting it. We're not changing the shell of the building or the footprint of the building, but everything on the inside, we're going to be taking it down to the studs and putting everything back new. We're going to be adjusting some layouts and all that stuff, but everything on the inside will be new and it'll be brought up to code. So it'll actually be a safer building. Pertaining specifically to the basement, there's going to be egress window wells for both units in the basement that will give them adequate safety paths of egress, so to speak, along with the newly built rated walls.
Thank you.
And you said newly built, what kind of walls?
Rated, like fire rated walls.
Oh, okay, good.
So to be clear, the stairway you were discussing also adds 2 additional entrances that aren't currently there. Is that right?
It adds 1 new entrance that's not there.
One new entrance. Okay, all right. Nonetheless, sounds like we're moving toward fire safety, so that's a good thing. Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, and if we have questions during the meantime, we can ask those questions to you, and you can respond to them either before or at next month's presentation and vote.
Yeah, and if anyone has any other questions, I would encourage asking now. The hope being that if there are any questions or comments that would lead to any modifications or adjustments that are needed, the goal would be to hear that now so that we could then bring to October's meeting the revised set so that there aren't any obstacles to approving before our hearing in November.
Okay, well then in that case, I have a question. I didn't see it in the regs because I've read the regs, but my question is, if you're doing, I didn't realize you were going to gut the structure, but you're going to retain the walls, because a lot of new construction, the walls are very thin. And so there's more, not only more noise, but people have complained about if someone is, smoking or using marijuana, that it can be smelled all throughout the structure. So have you taken that in consideration? I know it's not the type of thing that I saw in the regs, but it's the type of thing that I've gotten complaints from residents that someone next door, is smoking and it's bothering my health. So I just wanted to ask that question.
I would say similar to the fire safety issue, which piggybacking to that last question, I also just double checked, and we are also putting sprinklers in the building as well. So that's just an extra layer of fire safety. But similar to the fire safety and rating that we'll be building, the new construction, it all has to be brought up to code with air sealing, and one of the code requirements and inspections you have to pass for the final process is a blower door test, which essentially they come in and they pressurize the building and they test to make sure there's no leaks. And you're only allowed so much of a leakage factor. So it should be buttoned up. Again, this is, while the shell's not changing, it's going to become a brand new building.
Okay. All right.
And will this be mixed income, or is it any, what's the scale for?
It'll all be market rate.
Market rate, okay.
One question. I'm a resident. My name is Jameson Harcher. I'm one of the neighbors. Can you address what Renee said earlier about the trash and what your plan might be to improve that situation as you know, you'll have more residents. And obviously in the meantime too, during the construction process.
So during the construction process, there's going to be daily cleanup and there'll be dumpsters on site that'll get replaced every time they get full, usually depending on the stage of the project. So at the beginning, it'll be daily. In the middle, it'll probably be every other day. And then towards the end, it's going to be, you know, you only have a few just because there won't be as much trash. So that the trash should not be an issue during the construction process, as there'll be guys there every single day cleaning up at the end of the day, et cetera. As for the trash during occupancy, when tenants are living there, the issue that Commissioner Bowser referenced earlier, from my understanding and speaking with Peter and Paul, there was a turnover between management companies. And during that period, the trash company, the contract expired, and the new property manager had to get a new one on board or renew the contract. I forget the exact details. And that's what led to a lapse for about 2 or 3 weeks that created the issue in the first place. From my understanding, since then, it has not been an issue, but I guess if you live there and you're one of the neighbors, if it is an issue, we're happy to hear it, and I can bring that up again with Peter and Paul and make sure that the property managers are aware of that. As to the increased occupancy with the new units, they would just end up getting larger or more trash receptacles behind the building and increase the service with the trash company.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so do you anticipate the pickup and drop off of those dumpsters taking place from the alley itself?
Yes.
So most of the construction access will be from the alley, which I guess the reason I'm asking is that's the alley that I share with the site. So
yeah, yes, it will be, but we won't be storing anything or dumping any dumpsters, et cetera, in the alley itself. They'll just be backing in to drop the dumpster or pick it up and then pulling out.
Gotcha.
And
So you
trucks
won't
won't be working there.
You won't need to pull like a D-dot alley permit or what do they call it? Occupancy permit.
Because nothing will be stored there. They're just going to drive through it like any other truck or vehicle, et cetera.
Understood. And this may be too early, or maybe you can't answer the question, but will there be future plans for parking back there and rear access? Right now, I know it's just pedestrian. Do you know that information?
Good question.
Double check.
There was no mention of it in the application.
I don't believe there is a plan, which is actually a good question. I'll take up with them. I don't know why we wouldn't, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm not sure why they wouldn't, but there, as it stands now, there's not any parking pads slated to be built there.
Understood.
But that's something that I'm certainly happy to bring up with them, but I can't by any means promise it.
No, that's helpful. I was just curious. That's helpful. I understand that's where you're at the project. So that's all I had for today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We will look forward to seeing you next month for any final issues and a vote.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowser.
Appreciate your time. Very quickly, Commissioner Smith, your resolution on contributory negligence, and if you could summarize it in 5 minutes, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And please excuse me, everyone, because I am at the airport right now, but hopefully you can hear me okay.
I can.
Okay, great. So just to explain what we are proposing today, I'm introducing a resolution for the commission to approve that would call on the District of Columbia Council and the mayor's office to draft legislation, which I've proposed within the resolution, which would make DC a jurisdiction that follows a rule called comparative negligence. Right now, we follow a rule called contributory negligence. It's a very archaic rule, which basically means that if you are even 1% responsible for any kind of accident in the district, then you are not able to recover any damages related to that incident. In the past, this has been seen on the roads. So we've seen bicyclists who have been hit by cars where they were only 1% responsible for the damage that occurred, and the car was 99% responsible, but they weren't able to sue the driver of the car in this circumstance. So DC is one of only 5 jurisdictions that follows the contributory negligence rule. Every other jurisdiction has switched over to comparative negligence. And so it's really time for DC to catch up with the rest of the United States and the rest of the world in adopting a rule that allows victims of accidents to sue, even if they have some amount of culpability. What happens under a comparative negligence jurisdiction is that when a person who is partially responsible for injury that occurred to them sues another party, the amount they're able to recover to address those damages is reduced by the amount that they were responsible for the accident. So if a jury finds that one person was 15% responsible and the other party was 85% responsible, then they'll be entitled to 85% of the damages that they would be entitled to because of that accident. This resolution lays out the reasoning behind the switch to comparative negligence. It lays out appropriate legislation that will get us there, and we will be taking it from here. And I'll be working with Councilmember Louis George's office, who's expressed interest in it, Councilmember Che's office, who's introduced a similar bill in the past, and that is what we're looking at. I'm happy to address any specific questions. I know that it's a little bit of a dense topic, so please let me know what your questions are.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Commissioner Smith? Okay. Attendees, do you have any questions for Commissioner Smith with respect to what the practical aspects of his proposal to change DC's contributory negligence standard to comparative negligence? Okay, hearing none. Did you make a motion?
I suppose I should go ahead and make a motion. Yes. I make a motion that ANC 4D adopts the resolution advocating for a change from contributory negligence to comparative negligence in the District of Columbia.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to that ANC 4D endorse this resolution to the City Council and to the mayor. Any final discussion? Okay, hearing none. Are you ready to vote? All in favor of the resolution of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 4D urging City Council to adopt legislation overturning the archaic contributory negligence standard in favor of pure comparatory negligence standard, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it.
Yeah, I'm abstaining.
Oh, you're abstaining? Okay, thank you, Commissioner Noble. Next on the agenda is the DPW's zero waste plan, and that's just telling us the time for the previous one. Okay, next on the agenda, Commissioner Bouquet, you are going to talk about the proposed resolution on ANC 4D's position on the DC DPW Zero Waste Initiative.
Yes, and I'll be brief as we addressed this earlier on in the meeting. Essentially, the Department of Public Works is asking for public feedback on their zero waste DC plan. And what that means is essentially ideally going to zero waste, but more realistically diverting 80% of solid waste away from landfill. We the district, as compared to our more immediate neighbors, aren't doing so great in that respect. Just one stat, for example, the residential waste diversion rate, which we actually want to be at a good place, is not. It is at 25% versus Montgomery County, which was at 61%, and Prince George's County, which was at 62%, and Arlington County, which was at 49%. So compared to our neighbors, we're sort of lagging behind. And we also know that the pandemic lockdown has increased the amount of residential waste or just general waste that we are producing as a city. And this is not just DC, it's across the nation and globally. So what we did was we reviewed the zero waste DC plan framework, their draft framework. There are 7 goals that DPW has divided this framework into, and within those goals, there are a total of 53 proposed actions. You can, as an individual, go in and submit your feedback through a survey or by goal. And what we've done with this resolution is provide our feedback by goal, but we've also included Ward 4 and ANC 4D specific requests be considered as they move forward, thinking about zero waste. And basically the requests that we are asking before the city are very basic waste and recycling management needs. So requiring that landlords of multi-unit residential buildings offer waste and recycling management that meets the needs of the maximum number of occupants. So similar to what Chair Bowser was describing earlier with the BZA application, making sure we have large enough containers to contain the waste and recycling, and adequate collection, and adequate enforcement if that's not taking place. Increasing public and residential waste and recycling collections to areas in the ward with the lowest waste diversion rate, to at minimum twice weekly. So we had a resident talk about the trash cans at Larry Allen Park always being full and not being collected very frequently. Conducting at minimum quarterly alley inspections, cleanings, and abatements. We've had several residents talk about alley issues. Require and enforce business owners that manage private parking lots and sidewalk eateries as part of their property to clean their lots daily, and offer adequate waste management solutions. Often, sometimes we see business owners actually dumping in public cans and not in their own private bins. To not remove public cans as the solution to public dumping. Again, we have a waste problem and we need as many receptacles as possible. To appropriately supply an adequate number of public waste and recycling containers to public areas like community parks. And then to ensure that advisory neighborhood commissions receive appropriate notice and information regarding any policy about waste and recycling management in advance, so that we can adequately share that information with residents and get your feedback around that. So those are the basic things that we're addressing for Ward 4 and ANC 4D specifically. And then we also address the 53 actions and the goals individually. So I'm just going to stop right there. I will move to consider this resolution to be passed.
Second.
And then if there's any discussion or any questions or any edits, please share with me.
Okay, are there any comments or questions for Commissioner Bouquet from the commissioners? Any comments or questions from our residents, our attendees who have hung in there with us at this hour? Okay, hearing none. And we encourage you to, if you just have one issue to notify, it's just a time thing, sorry, I'm trying to keep the time, to notify DPW, and we can put that information on, if we haven't yet put it on our website. Okay, we're ready to vote. All in favor of resolution of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 4D regarding the Department of Public Works Zero Waste DC Plan Draft Framework, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay, thank you everybody for hanging in there. It's now 9:16 p.m. We're going to close out the meeting at this point. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact any of us by telephone